Let's get to yapping, y'all. Welcome back. If you're new, welcome. My name is Sarah. We're going to go through my 2025 wrap. On the screen are going to be my analytics for this year, how many pages I read, my average rating, so on and so forth. So if you are someone who likes seeing that data, here it is. Starting the year off strong was my very first book club book, Heartless Hunter by Kristen Sigrelli. This is the first book in the Crimson Moth duology. I rated it 4 stars. It's a young adult romance novel. Um, Takes place in late 1800s, early 1900s. Um, I really enjoyed this book. It was really just like a super fun adventure, and you could almost put yourself in her shoes as it's more of just a humanized witch type series. Next, I was doing this thing early in the year. I don't really remember how long this lasted. I think only a couple books. But I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I listened to this book. I would have my boyfriend choose a number based on how many books were on my TBR in within Goodreads because I wanted to lessen my TBR a lot because there started to be books that I had on there for a very, very long time. This was the first book that was chosen. I was actually really nervous because it's a memoir, it's nonfiction. I don't really like nonfiction. Didn't even know this was on my TBR, to be honest. I did not review it. I heard someone say that they don't like reviewing nonfiction works, especially like memoirs and biographies and things like that. And I think I agree. So I chose not to review it. I did really feel some type of way listening to this. I finished it in a day. It was a great time. Next, I read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Gave it 3 stars. This was a reread for me. At the end of 2024, I started a reread of the Harry Potter series because for some reason I thought that I hadn't finished the series and I really wanted to read The Cursed Child. Joke's on me, I did. After Goblet of Fire, I got to Order of the Phoenix and I had to stop within like the first couple chapters because Umbridge really makes me mad. So, yeah, just a reread. I really enjoy Goblet of Fire, but I think as far as the books, nothing can really beat the first 3. There's just so much whimsy. I know there's whimsy throughout, but like, I don't know. There's something about the first, even the first one, but the first 3 specifically that I think Goblet of Fire is kind of where we get a little bit darker, and that's probably why. After that, I read The Empyrean #3, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. If you don't know about Fourth Wing, where have you been? I know that a lot of people are either you love it or you hate it. I love it. I gave 5 stars. I set this book down and I cried. It's going to be a long time before we get to see book #4. Next was another book chosen off of my TBR list on Goodreads, The Haunting of the Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is a classic. It's a horror published in 1959. I gave it 3 stars and I am debating giving it 2 because I just remember being so bored with this book. So bored. It took me quite a while to get through it. I eventually had to listen to the audiobook just to speed this along. I don't know what happened. I really don't. I don't know why it was scary. I think I felt a little bit of tension and like scared in like 2 places, but otherwise it felt almost like whimsical, so it wasn't very scary. I don't know. After that, I decided I really needed a lighthearted palate cleanser, so I picked up The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. This is a contemporary romance. I gave it 4 stars. It really sold me the fact that this book they played assassin, um, which if you don't know is a game where you are a hunter and also a target. And once you eliminate your target, you pick up whoever their target was, and it keeps going and going and going until there's one victor. Well, within this book, Meredith endures a lot of loss in the first couple chapters that we find out about. Um, and she's on her annual vacation to Martha's Vineyard, and her target becomes this really cute boy of the who's a part of the groomsmen for her cousin's wedding. If you haven't read this one, if you haven't heard of this one, I definitely recommend this book. Next was our second book club book, and a book that I don't think I would ever pick up if it wasn't chosen for book club, but I'm so glad that I did because I gave it 5 stars, and that's Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This is a literary fiction novel about an octopus, Marcellus, and how he helps uncover our main character Tova's 18-year-old son's disappearance. It is just so beautiful. I don't know what I thought when I opened this book. I just remember opening it and being really nervous and ended up loving it. And I want to find something that makes me feel like this again. Next, I read Rebel Witch, the second book in the Crimson Moth duology. I also gave this book 5 stars. I really liked the way that we wrapped up this story. I liked the twists and the turns that we got. I didn't see a lot of them coming. I could not finish this book quick enough because I needed to know what was going to happen and how we were going to end this duology. After that, I read the first book in the Dream Harbor series, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. Um, I will say this was probably my favorite book so far out of the entire series. I think I have 1 or 2 left. I gave it 3 stars. This series is very much a 3-star series for me. A lot of the plots are not getting me and they feel very silly, like just no stakes at all. A lot of miscommunication, a lot of just simply not having a conversation, and it's really just getting to me, bugging me, making me irritated. I will say I had fun with the first one. I will finish the series just because they're kind of palate cleansery books, and I don't really have a real problem with reading them. Um, but I don't know that I would strongly recommend reading them. After that, we had our second book club book, Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. I gave this 2 stars. It's a mystery thriller if you know Lisa Jewell. This is my first book by her, and later in this wrapped, I'll talk about the second book that I read by her. I don't think I'm a fan of Lisa Jewell, to be honest. I liked the format of this novel, like the podcast vibe. Um, but I just didn't think there was really a whole plot. Like it just kind of felt like a lazy book. And then the last 20 pages, a bunch of stuff happens, but then you never actually find out who done it, and it's kind of almost a who done it thriller. Um, I don't know. I just don't really care for that. And after reading Lisa Jewell's second book that I read, yeah, I kind of realized that's a theme, and I don't love that. That's why I just don't think Lisa Jewell's for me. I will say she does a very good job of making you like not know what the hell is going on and thinking you do. After that, I picked up Funny Story by Emily Henry. I gave this book a 4 stars. This is the first contemporary romance in a long line of contemporary romance that I read. I don't have too many notes about this book. Emily Henry knows what she's doing. Got the job done. Was a great romance book. After that, I was loving how lighthearted that novel was, so I picked up The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, also a 4 star. Christina and Lauren just know what they're doing. Did you know that? That they're 2 people, not just one? I really enjoyed the fact that we're on an island for vacation, the rich boy setting. Oh, yeah, fake dating. I love fake dating. That's a good trope. I enjoy that trope. Next, I started a series, Rose Hill, with Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I gave this a 3 stars. This series also 3 stars, but this series I enjoy way more than I enjoy Dream Harbor. They're just kind of plain old contemporary romances. I do say in my review that some parts were cringy. I do not really remember that, but I can definitely see myself cringing at some things. I said the whole plot of Ryan felt very useless, which I believe was her ex. I don't really remember. And this is why I think it was useless, is I don't even remember him. Like he's brought up only a few times. She's so obviously over him. There's no high stakes. It just was very unrealistic in the not good unrealistic ways. I do appreciate their relationship, I think, the most. I do think they have the most solid relationship and a lot of good communication and what have you. I could be talking out my butt. Who knows? But I do think I remember that I liked their relationship the most. After that, I read Abigail Monahan's Summer Romance. This is my first book by Abigail Monahan. I give it 3 stars. I really appreciate the depth that we get in this novel of all the lessons that we learn and the self growth and everything. Next up, I read the second book of the Dream Harbor series, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I gave this a 2 stars. I really felt that this was not high stakes in like the worst way possible, that it just was so irritating to me that you like him, and the only reason you're pretending not to like him is because I don't even remember, because there's no way you could like him. Like, I don't, it was just, I don't know. Those ones make me roll my eyes. Our fourth book club book was a Lucy Score novel, Story of My Life. I have read the Knock 'em Out series, and that really took me by surprise. I really enjoyed specifically the first novel. The other two weren't as good, I don't think, but I did really enjoy it. So I knew that I liked Lucy Score's writing. I gave it 3 stars. I will say in the very beginning, I did not know who the male main character was going to be. I thought there were several options, then very quickly learned who the male main character was going to be, but I enjoyed that there was a little bit of thoughts to be had. Next, I read Rose Hill Book 2, Wild Eyes. I gave this 3 stars. This is the one of the country singer. I think this book was the most fun for me, even though they might not be my favorite couple. Then I went right back to Dream Harbor number 3, The Christmas Tree Farm. Also 2 stars. I felt like only 2% of this book was believable, and that it was very rushed. And even though it was rushed and fast paced, I didn't really want to pick up this novel that often. Like, it didn't have me gripped at all. But yay for Kira and Bennett, I suppose. After that, I went right into Dream Harbor number 4. I don't know why I did this. I think I was just trying to finish the series, but Strawberry Patch Pancake House, also 2 stars. I just don't think that the conflict in this one was good, as I don't think the conflict in most of these books are, but really especially this one. After that, we go into another book club book, Chloe Walsh's Binding 13, the Boys of Tommen series. I gave this book a 4 stars. I kind of felt a little bit uncomfortable with some of these plot points due to it being more young adult ish. Just because knowing that they're not 18 kind of, I don't know. It's fun to think about what you were like in high school and put that in perspective. I do appreciate that we have a lot of deep emotions, but at the same time, they're just so dark. My only really big problem with this novel was the fact that we had to really let the readers know that Johnny was so monstrous and that Shannon was so tiny. If you know, you know. Right after, I went right away into Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. Guys, I love these covers. I think they're so pretty. I gave this one a 3 stars. Honestly, I don't even remember what happened in this one. After that, I went right back to the Rose Hill series, Wild Side, book 3. I gave this 3 stars. The main thing that really bugged me was the fact that we just did not have a conversation. I just really don't like when that is the conflict, is like we are just choosing not to talk to each other about something that could easily have been avoided if we just talked about it. Alright, guys, you ready? The next book club book is finally the book to take me out of contemporary romance and instead put me in romantasy, which was the Bloodwing Academy Book 1, On Wings of Blood by Briar Bolin, I think is how you pronounce it. This book is a 4 stars. I really enjoyed this novel. I just love the way that it's kind of dark academia while also being fun and lovey and dragons and vampires. I don't know. What romance fantasy book with vampires and dragons is not good? I'll wait. You know? The beginning of the book had me a tiny bit confused. I didn't really understand where we were going. Next up, we started one, guys. We started the good one, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Oh my gosh. 4 stars. Love, love, loved. As you'll see, I did choose to read Assassin's Blade 3rd. We'll talk about that more when I get to it. Um, I had no idea what Throne of Glass was about, other than I really loved ACOTAR. I was thoroughly surprised. Like, when you start this series, it's just a regular old girl who's an assassin and is a really good one. Then we get into Crown of Midnight. Oh, my love, Crown of Midnight. I originally rated this 4 stars, but I had to change it to 5 stars because I really cannot stop thinking about this book, and specifically the way that we do everything, the way that we reveal, the way that we lead up. Oh my gosh, I loved everything about this book. Then we got into Assassin's Blade. I didn't really realize that these were going to be novellas, so it was a little bit of a twist for me, and I was a little bit confused at first, but 4 stars. I really, really, really am so happy that I read this third, and let me convince you why you should read this third. Okay, picture this. You're introduced to a character, you're introduced to what her life is looking like, you're introduced to who she's loving, who she's hating, how this is going, everything. Building, 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 building. Big mic drop reveal. And then hold on, pause. We're going to take it all the way back to really learn who our main character is and why they are the way they are and why they have the thoughts and the trauma and the feelings that they do. And that's what this is. This, we are pulled back and we are getting to learn Selena as much as we possibly can. Okay? Recommending reading this third. Plus, I already accidentally spoiled the whole thing that happens in Assassin's Blade for myself before getting into the series, because you rats on TikTok just decided to comment something. Actually, you know what's crazy? Multiple things that got spoiled to me. Hold on. If you don't want a spoiler, then you need to skip ahead. Okay? Ready? Okay. In Actar, what was I don't remember what I was reading, but in the comments, someone was like, "Oh yeah, just like Feyre and Rysand." Just like Feyre and Rhysand. Feyre and Rhysand, blah blah blah. And it was like this meme about Feyre and Rhysand, and I was like, who the hell is Rhysand? Like, I don't, what's happening? I don't, who are these people? And then I realized that it was from Actar. And then I was like, oh, great. Okay. And then I started reading Actar, and we're talking about Tamlin, and I'm like, who is Tamlin? When is Rhysand gonna come in? What is happening? So even though I still did get dragged along that Tamlin train, I was very much aware that Rhysand was a character, and I knew that he was going to come in at some point, and I was very confused when. Another spoiler. You rats! When I was trying to find something about ACOTAR after having finished ACOTAR, I was looking something up about ACOTAR, and you guys just wanted to go tell me that Sam had gotten killed. Like, hello? So there was no point in me reading Assassin's Blade first. There was nothing for me to be spoiled for. Okay? Next up, I listened to The Summer We Ran by Audrey Ingram. I needed a little bit of break after Assassin's Blade just because, I don't know, sometimes I get a little antsy being in the same series for a long time, and I knew that there was just so many more books ahead of me, and I don't know, I just needed a break. So I listened to The Summer We Ran. I gave it 4 stars. It was a very beautiful, emotional story, and I feel like there was a lot of lessons that we learned within this story. I just really appreciated the self growth that we got. Jumped back into Air of Fire. This one I did rate 4 stars, but it was kind of very info dumpy. The reason this felt so info dumpy for me is I just felt like every time we brought in a new plot point, we really focused on that plot point and all of the information surrounding said plot point for just a long time. I don't know, it just really kind of got me as input up B. Otherwise, I did really love our plot arc for Selena and everything she went through and all of her growth and everything. Okay, one more little thing. Guys, did you know that Rhysand and Feyre are technically related? I know towards the end it is fixed and they're technically not related, but when they're introduced to each other, they are very distant cousins. I don't give a crap. I don't give a that Rhysand is 300 years old. If anything, that's a little bit weird in itself. Obviously, I know we girlies actually don't care, but they are related. They're related. Okay, I find that weird. Moving on, next book was another book club book, A Man Called Uva by Frederick Bachman. Very beautiful story, 4 stars. I did not expect the way Frederick Bachman to be writing to be this way. I thought this story was beautiful. I thought that the way that our main character just really wanted to be with his wife was beautiful. I thought the the growth of family and love and support and connections and relationships was so beautiful. And I did cry at the end. Okay. Next we go back, we go into Queen of Shadows, 4 stars. I love the way that we kind of turned in this novel and just got a whole new identity, a new strength. I love that we really started getting those Selena baddie queen moments, okay? Um I do think that if I were to read this book a little bit faster that it would have been 5 stars. I think that's on me. I read it kind of slowly and it just made it overall feel like the story was slow. Um but I was digging the series. I was eating it up. I was ready to continue. Next, I think I was going on a road trip with my mom to Indiana or something. I don't remember. I just remember being on the road for this. Um, the Powerless trilogy. I listened to Powerless by Lauren Roberts, young adult romance series, 4 stars. This one really took me by surprise. My friend really, really, really loved this trilogy more than ACOTAR. It's her top trilogy. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of thoughts. I think I was in so many fantasy worlds at this point that it was a little bit harder to get into, and I appreciate that I was listening to it and at that listening to it in big chunks during this drive. But I really liked the way that we had trials. I really liked the way that this story developed. My main gripe with this whole story was that our male main character and female main character had some very obvious plot armor. Like a lot of these trials didn't feel super high stakes because I knew that our main characters weren't going anywhere. Nothing was going to happen to them. Right after that, I went right into the second book, listened to that as well. Reckless, 3 stars. I didn't do any of the novellas because I don't know. I'm really shocked that I didn't. Honestly, I'm the type of person that like if I'm reading a series, I have to finish the series. Oh yeah, this book I will say the 3 stars was probably because I felt like this book was super repetitive. The plot was still a little bit interesting, and I liked all the different places we went and things, but it was just, I don't know. I do understand why we had the plot of that book. I understand where it tied in and why the author felt that it was necessary, but it was just really, really repetitive. Like 50 to 70% of this book could have been taken out. Next up was another book club book. This book had been on my TBR for a very long time because before I really even was into reading, I would go to like Barnes and Nobles or something and I saw this book all the time and I was like, I want to read this. You'd Be Home Now by Kathleen Glasgow. This is a contemporary young adult novel dealing with addiction and just some really traumatic, raw, vulnerable topics. I did give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this novel. I think it was really good pacing. We did have a lot of character development and growth. I will mention that at the beginning of this book, it was very choppy, and I don't know, it just didn't seem like it was flowing very well. Like it was just, we're gonna state something, and that's like almost like we were listing things. Thankfully, that did kind of go away, and I wonder if that's just how the author wanted us to get into it. I'm not really sure. After that, I finished off the Powerless trilogy with Fearless, another 3 star. This book was almost a 4 star for me, but then when I really sat there and thought about it, it just felt really unnecessarily long. And again, there was a lot of back and forth between our two main characters that like just did not need to be there and kind of felt super long and just I don't know, I get really irritated with a lot of the back and forth stuff. Um I was eating it up. I did want to know what was going on, but overall, I think I agree with a lot of people in saying that we could have meshed the second and third book and made this series a duology. After that was another book club book, which I don't think I would have really picked up by myself, and I'm really glad I did. It's also the only book I have ever given a half star to. Don't know why I feel against the half stars, quarter stars, but I do. This is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I listened to this book. This is a fantasy romantasy, young adult, LGBTQ plus, what have you. This book was a 3.5. The reason I really went with this half star is because there was a decent amount within the beginning of this book that kind of felt like you were telling, not showing, or you were trying to show too much. The whole buildup of this novel was the fact that these two characters really loved each other, and it was just really irritating in the way that it was repetitive. Not that it was repetitive because we're trying to show our love, but because almost like the to a T, like, and I know that's the point with this is that like they're going through multiple lives, but it just was like, okay, I get it. After like 2 or 3 of them, like I get it. We don't need to do a million, you know? And then the other part that really bothered me and that kind of made this 3.5 rather than 4 stars was the fact that towards the end of the novel, just everything started happening all at once in the last like few chapters. Like I cannot stand books. Like I think I said that earlier for another book too. Everything's going along. We're getting a story. We're getting a story. We're getting a story. Oh my god, we're almost done. We really gotta finish because we only have a couple pages left. Like it was just that's kind of how it felt to me. I also felt like the ending. Looking back, I remember feeling very incomplete with the ending. Like I really appreciate like the little sprinkles of how these things fit in, but because so much happened in that last little bit, I was a little bit lost and I didn't understand, I guess, what went on and why it went on. And I don't know, it just didn't feel like a good ending to the book. Next, we jump back in and we did do the tandem read. So, Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms. I will say, highly, 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 highly recommend the tandem read. Um, I just really loved um going back and forth. Guys, you're following like 7 different characters' points of views, and I loved that because no matter whose point of view I was in, to the end of like a chapter and I knew that the POV was wrapping up, I got really sad because I wanted to stay in this POV and figure out what was happening. But then, like, 2 sentences into the next POV, I was like hooked and ready to continue the next person's point of view. And I don't think that many authors would be able to do that. And so I just think that was very beautifully done. I did give each book 4 stars. They both took me a really long time to get through. And honestly, that's probably because they're both almost 700 pages. Like, I don't know, at this point it was October. There was just a lot going on. Oh yeah, I started studying for the MCAT again in November, so like I wasn't able to read as much as I wanted to, and so I kind of dragged it out. But just everything that was going on, I really, really loved this story, and I was so nervous for how we were going to start wrapping stuff up because at this point we had 1 book left and I didn't know what was going on and I was so scared. One thing that I kept feeling throughout this tandem read was that I thought it was so beautiful that you could follow so many different people and get so much character growth for each person. And it truly felt at this point like we knew these people going on multiple years and we're just seeing the way that everyone is growing and everyone's changing and everyone's developing. And I know that was a very redundant sentence. Just, it just I don't have words to describe how much I just felt like everyone was my friend and that we had all known each other for such a long time. And I really appreciate that an author could do that. Next up, me, Jordyn, and Diamond buddy readed this book on our trip, and it was the worst book I think I've ever fully consumed. Hopelessly Devoted. This was by Audrey Goldberg Ruoff. I'm really sorry, Audrey, to like shit on your work like this, but this was 1 star. Really, the only reason I think all three of us finished this book was because we were buddy reading it and it was just a short, quick novel. Let me just read my review. I think that really sums up the way that I felt about this book. Okay. I would like to formally apologize to the author before tearing this book to shreds. I do believe that there were good ideas for this book and it would have been very good. However, the only reason I read this whole thing was due to it being a buddy read. I never DNF books, except for Den of Vipers because I really got sick of that. But I knew about 20 to 30% into this book that it was probably getting a 2 star. First off, this book starts with a flashback from 8 years ago where our male main character can't get a grip and tell her that he loves her. Then we flash forward to the present day and find out that our female main character is also in love with our male main character. Perfect. A little miscommunication trope never hurt anyone. We reference we reference this event from 8 years ago probably 300 times within this 350-page novel. There's another event from 6 years ago that also gets referenced like 600 times. I forgot to mention, we also get the male main character and female main character calling each other just friends after every single interaction. So while this book is super repetitive, that's not my only problem. Next, our author seems to throw in the most random 1 to 2 line ideas to seemingly make sure we as readers know that she is woke. Now, this isn't inherently a bad thing, but they're just so random and completely unnecessary. Another gripe to go with that is that every single character is LGBTQI+, which no, that is not bad. That's awesome, but it's just so unnatural within this storyline, and it really just seems to be thrown in your face for representation purposes only. Also, there is spicy scenes thrown in all throughout, and half the time it does not make sense at all. I truly believe the author just wanted a shot at writing smut. Lastly, there's simply no plot whatsoever. Like, actually none. The miscommunication is communicated fairly quickly, and we choose to keep it a problem even though it was solved. And there's an overarching villain and issue going on that doesn't have very high stakes as a reader, especially because of how easily someone is defeated at the end. Which, why was that normalized, and why is it the most obvious character with no question? We didn't want to make it even a little bit less obvious. All in all, I think this author does have a shot at writing a good book, but however, this was not it. And that's all I will say about this book. Lastly, I finally finished the series. We finished the 1,000 pages. Kingdom of Ash, 5 stars, hands down. I do think that this book was done very well, and I think that we finished off the series in the best way possible. I will say I am a little sad that we had to make someone not as powerful. I just really like when those particular characters are all powerful and like nobody's ever getting a shot at messing with them. But I understand for the plot of the book why we had to do it. Next up, book club book Corrupt by Penelope Douglas, The Devil's Night, book 1. 3 stars. TBH, don't really think I'm going to finish the series. I do think that I have grown as a reader, and I think that too much smut is a sentence that I can say. But then also, this book had me conflicted that I don't know if it's too much smut or it's the fact that the smut did not make sense for the plot. I really liked the way that our characters had push and pull. The background plot of being an individual and that rules don't necessarily always need to be followed within society. But just a lot of some of the little things in this story didn't really make sense to me, like for the story. But also, Little Miss Girl, what do you mean you didn't know who was messing with you? Like, you the answers right in front of you and you're deciding to look through it, look past it, look around it. Like, anyways. Next, I went on a little audiobook binge because I drove Jordyn, Diamond, and I to Tennessee, 10-hour drive. Um, so we were just eating up the audiobooks. Okay. First off, The Favorites by Lane Fargo, 5 stars. Love this book. The way that we incorporated the sports with the romance and the way that we had all these different background political sport problems going on and the way that we resolved them was just really, really great. I loved it. The entire time I was on the edge of my seat, I reacted so many different times. There were a lot of twists and turns that we were all just shouting out predictions, trying to hopefully understand what was going on or trying to guess what was going to happen next. I will say that the happily ever after was very realistic in the way that kind of fell flat. And I don't know if that's simply because like everything that happened throughout this point was so large, like the Olympics, like that's a large success. And so like the ending, it was just kind of like, oh, like we're just gonna get a normal person happily ever after. I don't know. That's I think my only real negative thought about this book. Next up was that Lisa Jewell book I was talking about, The Third Wife. Ugh, 2 stars. Listen, just again, I don't think Lisa Jewell is for me. Just I feel like the way that Lisa Jewell finishes off her stories is very dull and unfulfilling. Lisa Jewell is a really good writer. She makes you question literally everyone throughout this entire story. But then it's like she gives you the reveal and she's over it. She doesn't care anymore. She doesn't want to talk about this story anymore. And even though she's gonna give everyone a rounded story, it's like just the rounding out does not give the story justice. And I just feel like the endings are so underwhelming. Next up, another 5 star, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I feel like she really truly understood how to dive into a very scientific field like the space exploration world and just a very heartbreaking, beautiful, heartwarming story with a lot of uh like a lot of wit. I don't know. I just think Taylor Jenkins Reid is a really good author as well. Next up was another nonfiction. 2 nonfictions this year. Who am I? Talking as Fast as I Can from Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls and Everything in Between by Lauren Graham. Didn't rate it. Thought it was so much fun. I really enjoyed all the things we got to hear and learn. I will say, I know there is a lot of Gilmore Girls in here. I thought there would be more. Like, I feel like we really didn't talk about it that much. Um, I really love at the way she kind of left the open cliffhanger for A Year in the Life and how she's like, anyone else think that was weird? Because I thought that was weird and no one really gave me an answer. And so, I don't know, I really liked that. Bloodwing Academy #2, The Bond That Burns, 4 stars. Again, really loved this series. I will say, because I left such a gap in between, I did have a little bit of trouble remembering what was happening in the first book. Mostly because at the same time of reading that first book, I was reading like a kind of Wattpad-ish novel that was very similar to the plot of On Wings of Blood. And so like remembering, I was like, wait, did this happen in that or the book? Like I don't know. But overall, really enjoyed it. Can't wait to keep going. Next, I listened to All the Light We Cannot See. This is a historical fiction. I honestly think that listening to this book did it a little bit of a disservice because it was really hard to understand where we were at in the novel and whose POV we were in. I enjoyed how raw the topics were and how we had the two different sides. But I just didn't really understand the plot, I guess, other than just going through the motions of the war and what the emotions of that were and why things were being done. I don't know. There didn't really seem to be a point to the story other than going through it, which it was done well. It was beautiful. It was just, I don't know. I didn't really understand it. I do want to watch I think it's a show. Do really want to watch that. I think the show would be really, really good. Next up, I started Hunger Games. This is my very, very, very first time reading Hunger Games. 3 stars for the first book. I really enjoyed the dystopian world. I enjoy the concept and how these emotions were very authentic. But I will say I really hate the way that Katniss treats Peeta, even though that we're going in the correct direction. I was surprised upon watching the movie because I read the book and then I watched the movie. I'm surprised that the quality wasn't as good, but then I guess I just thought about it and it was the first book of the series, and so there probably wasn't much of a budget, and it's kind of fun to watch throughout the movies how the budget increases. Also, hot take, okay? I don't think Jennifer Lawrence was a good Katniss. Not because I don't like Jennifer Lawrence, but because I feel like in the book, Katniss is this very insecure type of shy. Like, it's not that she doesn't want to be friends with people, it's that she's standoffish and, like, therefore, like, doesn't connect with people. That's why she's not outgoing like that. But in the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, I feel like Jennifer Lawrence just admits this confidence without even trying. And so it feels like Katniss in the movie is very much like, bye, like, don't talk to me, like, I'm better than you. When it's really actually that inner turmoil is quite the opposite. Next was another book club book, Heavenly Bodies by Amani Iru. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I think this book is so gorgeous, and I think the concept is very cool. It's celestial fantasy. It's a romantasy. I gave it 4 stars. I did listen to it. I didn't read it. I didn't really have a whole lot of time with how much was going on. A decent amount of this book I was a little bit confused what was going on, and that's because I don't really remember which star is who and why each star is the way that they are. I don't know. I think I just missed something in the beginning and like it kind of carried throughout the novel, and so it just kind of made it hard for me to understand what was going on. But I am very excited to read the second book and see how we continue. Next, I listened to Catching Fire. I was just on an audiobook kick. 4 stars. I really appreciate the subtle hidden messages within the book. I felt really bad for Peeta. I think that he deserves justice. I do think that the pacing was very distributed well, like the pacing stayed consistent throughout and there was not a whole lot of wavering. I really appreciated the mic drop at the end, all the high stress and anxiety that I felt throughout the whole thing. I just really definitely needed to pick up Mockingjay right away and continue the series, which that is what I did. Read Mockingjay, also 4 stars. I felt like these books were in the best way possible, a fever dream. I do think that the ending was pretty insufficient considering everything that we've gone through and all that we've overcome, and like we put an end to the Hunger Games pretty much. At least that's what's inferred, right? And so now we're just gonna go have babies and live in District 12. Like it just, I don't know. Obviously, I think they would say in District 12, but it was just like, I don't know, very what would be expected. I felt like there should have been more. I appreciate that every character has like a total well-rounded thought process. Like rather than writing the story and then filling in the blanks, it really felt like Suzanne Collins like drew a map to each character before even really starting this world. And I think that even goes to show in the next, like Sunrise on the Reaping and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Um, the conclusion again, it felt anticlimactic, a little bit rushed for the final moments. But overall, yeah, 4 stars. Next up, I reread 50 Shades of Grey because I really wanted to read Christian's POV, which I read after 50 Shades of Grey. 4 stars. I really like the storyline of 50 Shades, and I think it's fun while you're reading it to imagine where the plot points really came from Twilight, because if you didn't know, 50 Shades is a fanfic of Twilight. Not too many thoughts about that. I just really like that storyline. Bad idea to read them back to back though. 50 Shades and Christian's Grey. For Grey, I gave it 3 stars because even though a lot of the story is the exact same, which is what you would expect, it goes past the end of 50 Shades for Anna's POV, and there's a lot of inner turmoil that Christian goes through, and I think it's really beautiful with what he's going through and like trying to overcome and why he keeps going back to Anna, and like I don't know, I just really I like that. Next up, I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. 4 stars. Really love that. Why is young President Snow really hot? They chose a good actor for the movie. I love this book. I really like the way that we made President Snow is towing this line of what's right and what's wrong, and he's really deciding his own morals within this dystopian world where everyone's told to appreciate the Hunger Games and the Hunger Games are necessary. And the way that the Hunger Games were way back when they first started, and just the way that he gained his power by deciding what was morally correct for him, I think was very cool. I'm a little bit sad we don't go further and see like exactly how he became President Snow, but I think it was really cool to meet Lucy Gray Baird and how she affected President Snow, and that's kind of why he thinks the way he does about Katniss and all the different things that she's doing and the way that the little songs or like bits of information that she's doing affect President Snow in a different way. I just really think that's cool. And I like how you can kind of see that even though he's teetering this line the entire way, how he truly falls and what his reason for falling into the bad at the end, like why that is. And I think it was done really well. My very last book of the year was A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is a young adult fantasy series. I'm pretty sure it's just a duology. I don't think I'm reading the second book. It doesn't really seem that important to me. This book was really, really slow, but while I was in it, I was interested in what was going on. I was not dreading like picking it up and doing it. I listened to a big chunk of this while I was cleaning my room one day, but it really did feel like a really long 3 to 400 page book. There was a lot of ideas that I don't think were fully fleshed out like within the like fantasy realm that like made it hard for me to fully connect with everything because I couldn't fully grasp what was being told. Throughout the book, it seems very predictable of a story. Like you seem like you're gonna know what's gonna happen and why certain things are brought up the way that they are. But then towards the end, there are some twists that kind of do take me off guard. I will say one thing that really made me really upset, and if you're only gonna get this if you read the book, is that about 2 pages and a shard of glass is all it took, really? Really. Definitely think we coulda done a little bit more extravagant things with that. Yeah, those are my thoughts. So that was my 2025 wrapped. I really hope you enjoy hearing about all the things I had to say about these novels. I hope that I can continue to do well with explaining books. I don't think I'm really good at summarizing books, and so I'm sorry if like the beginning of this wasn't as I guess informative or good as like the books towards the end of the year where you can tell that I remember what was going on a lot more. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe to see a new video every Monday. Thanks. Bye.